Hello students of grade 8. On this video, we will learn a topic on rural life and society from history. On this topic, the subtopics that we are going to learn is system of revenue collection, which is divided into three subcategories, that is permanent settlement, Lodwari settlement and Mahalwari settlement, cultivation of indigo in India, demand of indigo in India, and blue rebellion, which is also known as Indigo rebellion. Well, we all know that India is a country which is very well known for its agriculture or farming, and majority of our people depends on agriculture for their livelihood, and if the crop is good, it leads to prosperity, or else people die due to starvation and famine. Now, in this topic, we are going to learn what was the life of the people on and after the arrival of the Britishers in India. After the arrival of the Britishers in India, starting from the lifestyle of the people, their economic, their social, political, everything have changed up and down. Everything was being dominated by the Britishers. Now, based on that, and since agriculture was the main cultivation, or that was the only main source of income for the people, the Britishers got an opportunity for this land tax cultivation, or the land tax revenue, and based on that, they have divided the land revenue into three systems, and as I told, in the permanent settlement, Lodwari settlement, and Mahalwari settlement. Permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis of Bengal when he was the Governor General of India, and later on it was spreaded to Bihar and Orissa. Now, some of the main features of these permanent settlements are the zamindars of Bengal was considered as owner of the land. Second point, the amount of revenue was fixed. Third, this settlement took away the administrative and judicial functions of the zamindar. Okay, I repeat, the main features of this permanent settlement, which was introduced by Lord Cornwallis of Bengal, were the zamindars of Bengal was considered as owner of the land. The amount of revenue which was to be collected from the people was fixed. This settlement took away the administrative and judicial functions of the zamindars. Now, there are some of the side effects or some of the disadvantage of this settlement was, if the peasants and zamindars failed to pay the revenue on time, their land and property was seized. New class of loyalists for British was created. Third point is, all the cultivated land or all the wastage land which was not in use for a long period of time, even those lands was brought under cultivations. Fourth point is, since the rich zamindars, they always left the responsibility of collecting the rent collections to the agents. The agents, what they did was they collected more than the fixed revenue, which was becoming a hurdle and challenges for the lower class people, because they were not able to pay on time, and since when they were not able to pay on time, their land and the property was being confiscated by the Britishers, and the rich zamindars, they were not aware of it, since most of them live in towns and cities. Now, the next one is Lodwari settlement, and this Lodwari settlement was mainly introduced in Madras, Perar, Bombay and Assam. Okay? And according to this Lodwari settlement, the land collection, it was not like the permanent settlement. The collection of land revenue was the peasants itself. They have to go and pay directly to the British government. There was no third agents between them, so there was not a problem for them. And the amount of revenue, okay, the amount of revenue was being fixed for 20 to 40 years. So it was a big relief for the peasants. But one of the side effects was that it failed. Okay, this Lodwari settlement also failed, as it was certainly not possible to collect the revenue in a systematic manner. I repeat, this Lodwari settlement also failed, as it was not certainly at all possible to collect the revenue in a systematic manner. Now, the next one is Mahalwari settlement. This Mahalwari settlement was introduced in 1833 in Punjab, Central Provinces and Northwestern Province. Okay, and this Mahal, Okay, mahal. The word mahal itself means is a village. So the collection of land revenue was entirely responsible to the villagers. Okay, so the village headmen was solely responsible for collecting the entire village revenue and to go and pay to the producers on time. So these are the three systems of revenue collections, and this three system of revenue collection was given authority through Treaty of Allahabad in 1765. Okay, the Britishers, that is the East India Company, they got the authority to collect the divans of. Okay, divan means, the meaning of divan is tax, collection of tax, and this authority was given to the East India Company through the Treaty of Allahabad in 1765. After that only, this revenue system of revenue collection was divided. Okay, and that's how the Britishers went on with their plans and objectives. Now, next is, you might be wondering what is indigo, right? Indigo is a kind of a blue colored plant that was used for dyeing our clothes. Okay, for dyeing our clothes, it was used for that. So indigo was very famous. Okay, indigo was very famous, and India, and this indigo was very high demand in European countries, and even in European countries, it was considered as a blue collar workers. Okay, I repeat, this in European countries, okay, it was considered as a blue collar workers, because in the European countries, all the workmen, for example, like military, okay, military personnel, hospital staffs, British police forces, and all the millions of workmen, they wore a blue collar shirts for their, when they go out for their work. So it was termed as blue collar workers. Okay, so this indigo is a kind of a plant, blue color plant or dye that was used for coloring our clothes. And India is among the oldest dye to be used for textile industries. Okay, and it is considered to be the oldest center in the world. Okay, India is considered to be the oldest center in the world, and it is also considered to be the oldest dye to be used for textile dyeing and printings. Now, these indigo plantations for India became more visible when a Portuguese sailor, that is Vasco da Gama, when he discovered India. That's how India became more transparency regarding this indigo plantation. Now, after the Industrial Revolution, okay, after the Industrial Revolution, there was a very high demand for indigo. There was a very high demand in indigo, especially, okay, when the machines started coming, okay, in the Manchester industries, okay, or in the Manchester cities, okay, in the European countries, when the machines started to come, lots of cotton clothes was being printed out. Now, for all those things, for all the cotton fabrics, they had to be colored up, right? So that is the reason why indigo was in very high demand. And since the climate of the Britain, that is the European countries, since the climate was not visible, was not suitable for this indigo cultivation, what they did was they usually export this indigo from Caribbean islands and North America. So from Caribbean islands and North America, these are the two places where the Britain used to import this indigo for their cotton fabric clothes. Okay, and all this happened after the Industrial Revolution. Now suddenly the attention came towards India. Okay, now suddenly the attention came towards India because India's climate was suitable for the indigo plantation, okay, for indigo cultivation, and the land was very fertile for that. So the British turns their attention towards this, and this plantation of cultivation, indigo cultivation, was started in India through the two systems, that is niche and roti system. Niche and roti system is the two ways for which indigo was cultivated in India. Now, since the European countries, more and more indigo was being demanded, what happened was that forcefully or unforcefully, the Indians were been asked to cultivate indigo, and they were not even allowed to plant any other crops, okay, besides this indigo. And this indigo cultivation was creating a huge problem for the Indian people. Why? Because this indigo plant, this indigo cultivation, was not only absorbing the nutrients of the soil, but it was making the land, it was making the soil a barren land. It was not, after the cultivation of indigo, to cultivate another crops was not possible. It was creating a challenge for the Indian people to cultivate another crops once the indigo cultivation is done. Okay, so this indigo cultivation, since it was a very high demand in Britain, what happened was that more and more financial was being invested in India. Okay, not only investment, even the banks. Okay, they started giving loans, more and more loans to the investors, those who want to invest in India based on this indigo. Okay, so banks also started to invest more money, and not only that, more and more investors started to invest a huge sum of money in India, not for anything else, but just for this indigo cultivation. Now, apart from this indigo cultivation, there is another one more that was being asked to cultivate, and that is opium. Now, opium is a kind of a drug that was being used, okay? So this opium and indigo was becoming a very challenging for the Indian cultivators, because once they started cultivating this, they were creating a problem to live their livelihood, because they have to work in a very low wages. Okay, their working hour was more, and the salary or the wages they were getting was very less. So in that way, it was becoming unmanageable for the people to work anymore for the Britishers. Now, since because of all these reasons, finally a kind of a revolt broke out, which is known as Indigo Rebellion or Blue Rebellion. Why Blue Rebellion? Because indigo itself is blue color. That is the reason why it is known as Blue Rebellion or Indigo Rebellion. Now, some of the reasons behind the breaking up of this Blue Rebellion is, Blue Rebellion broke out among the indigo cultivators. Secondly, in March 1859, thousands of cultivators, okay, thousands of indigo cultivators in Bengal, they refused to grow indigo. Okay. Third point is that the rotis, okay, that is the cultivators, refused to pay rents and attack the indigo factories. Okay, they not only refused to pay the rents, but they also started attacking the indigo factories that was being established by the Britishers. And the last point is, the rebellion was brutally suppressed. Means, why the rebellion was suppressed by the Britishers was because the Indians, they don't have any modern techniques, skills and equipments to fight back against the Britishers. That is the main reason the rebellion started, but it was brutally trashed or suppressed by the Britishers. But after the Blue Rebellion, some of the changes or some of the consequences that came up after the Blue Rebellion is that the British government set up an Indigo Commission to inquire into the system of indigo production. Second point is that the commission held the planters guilty and criticized them for also using coercive methods they used with cultivators. Third point is, it declared that indigo production was not profitable. Okay. Not only that, in the year 1917, when Mahatma Gandhi visited Champaran, this Champaran is in Bihar. When he visited that place, some kind of relaxation was being granted to the indigo cultivators after Mahatma Gandhi visited Champaran in the year 1917. So these are the four reasons that we can see, or the consequences after the Blue Rebellion. I repeat once again, the British government set up Indigo Commission to inquiry into the system of indigo production. Second point is that the commission held the planters guilty and criticized them for the coercive methods they used with cultivators. Third point, it declared that indigo production was not profitable. Fourth point is that in the year 1917, when Mahatma Gandhi came to Champaran, that is in Bihar, okay, some kind of relaxation was granted to the indigo cultivators. So, these are some of the advantages, and these are some of the disadvantages of Blue Rebellion, or which is so called as Indigo Rebellion. Okay, students, today in this video we have learned on rural life and society. That is, what was the life of the people before the arrival of the East India Company and what was the life of the people after they came, right? And under this topic, we have learned the system of revenue collection, how it started and why it started. It started through the Treaty of Allahabad, which was signed in the year 1765, where a divan was been granted. Divan means a kind of a tax which was allowed to be collected, and this revenue collection was classified into 3 points, that is permanent, Roadbury and Mahalwari settlement. This permanent settlement was started by Lord Cornwallis. Roadbury settlement was started by Sir Thomas Munro, and this Mahalwari settlement was started in the year 1833. Okay, now after this we have seen what is indigo all about. Okay, now indigo is a kind of a blue colored dye that was used for dyeing our clothes, and India is considered to be one of the oldest center for this indigo cultivations, and in European countries it was also termed or coined as blue collar workers, as all the workmen, okay, were using this blue collar shirt. That is the main reason why it was termed as blue collar workers. Now we have also seen when Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese traveler, when he discovered India, that's how India became more transparency regarding this indigo cultivation, because regarding this indigo cultivation, right from the medieval time, it was practicing, but it became more visible again when Vasco da Gama explored India. Now after that, we also seen how indigo was demanded in India, how the British started to invest more money, right? How the banks started to give loans to the investors, right? How the Indians' life condition completely changed after the Britishers started coming to India, and how they forced the Indians to go for these indigo plantations. And at the last, we have seen how this blue rebellion and indigo rebellion broke out, right? How it broke out, and after, what was its consequences, we have seen. So students, I hope you have all have understood. If you have any doubt, please feel free to contact me. Till then, take care, stay safe, and thank you.